Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Such a pleasant morning. My name is Sheetal Arora, and I'm the founder and CEO of Women Restart. Now, most of you know Women Restart is a platform, a support platform for women who are trying to make a career comeback. And as a part of that, we know that analytics as a career has been recognized as something that gives great deal of work-life balance. And that's obviously something that a lot of women are striving for today. We understand that, and we also know that a lot of you have been sort of contemplating analytics, data science as a career option. And thus, with today, we have with us Sarita Digumarti, who is the co-founder of Jigsaw Academy. Now, for those of you who know Jigsaw Academy, and for those of you who don't, they are the pioneers, the leaders in the analytics, big data, Hadoop, machine learning, training space. They are a course provider who've been into existence for a long time, and they've got a lot of partnerships in the industry. Great person to tell us more about what it takes to restart a career in analytics. So over to Sarita. Sarita, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Morning, Sarita. Yes, we can hear you fine.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi. Request you to start sharing your screen and also your video, please.
Yes. Let me just do that.
Yeah. While Sarita is doing that, just so you know, for the first 25 minutes, Sarita will share her insights into the industry and how you can restart in analytics and data science. Also, would encourage you guys to use chat window and send us your questions, which she will take once she's finished with the presentation. Over to you, Sarita.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me and see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen and I can also hear you. I'm sure a lot of others can too. They're all muted,
Okay,
so yeah.
Also, just bringing up my chat window, so the questions as they come along. So, thank you, Sheetal. Welcome everyone to this. What I wanted to do was really just briefly talk about analytics and data science, and what is involved in analytics and data science, and why is that potentially a good option for women that are looking to re-enter the workforce. So I will keep this interactive. So if you have questions on the slide that I'm on, feel free to ask me on the chat window, and I'd be happy to answer. If you have questions that are a little bit more general or specific to your background, etc., that possibly we should do when I finish the presentation and we do the Q&A session. Okay. Just a quick introduction about myself. Sheetal told you I'm one of the co-founders of Jigsaw Academy. My primary experience has been in analytics and data science. I work in India. I work in the US as well. Primarily retail analytics, but also financial services analytics, IT analytics, healthcare analytics, and so on. So let me talk to you a little bit about Jigsaw itself. We founded Jigsaw about 6.5, 7 years ago, and we were the pioneers, like Sheetal said, in training in analytics. And over the last 6, 7 years, we've had tremendous successes in both training individual students globally, not just in India, as well as corporate clients and academic partnerships. So we train college students, we train corporate clients, and we train individuals. We are very focused on data science and analytics and data related topics. So in that sense, we are not, we're not a marketplace. We don't do training on multiple things. We focus pretty much on data science. So the agenda briefly for today is this. I want to talk a little bit about what is analytics, because again, a lot of people hear about analytics, but there's not necessarily a good understanding of what exactly does it involve. Then why analytics as an option, and especially why analytics as an option to restart your career if you've taken a break. And then the sort of skill sets that you will need to build, an analytics career. And then I will do a Q&A at the end. So if you think about analytics, right, this is a question that I ask a lot of people, what exactly is analytics, right? A lot of people will say that it is something to do with data. It is possibly data analysis. It is about generating insights from data. And broadly, people are right. But when we specifically talk about analytics, as a new age skill, the reason for that is because analytics is more than just data analysis. It is more than just looking at data to sort of understand what happened. Analytics traditionally has been the ability to look at past data to sort of make predictions about the future. So if you think of someone like Netflix, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Netflix, must be having Netflix accounts. They started off as a video streaming, actually a DVD rental service, right? So 20 years ago in the US, you essentially decided, you went to the website, you said, I want to watch this movie this weekend, and you ordered a DVD. They would post it to you. You would receive it at your house. You would watch the DVD, and then once you were done, you would courier it back, right? So they started as a DVD rental service. But now, if you think about what Netflix does, right, their business model is very different. They have become content creators, right? So they make their own TV shows, they make their own movies, so they stream a lot of third-party content, but they also make their own content. Now, if you think about that, right, that's a massive change in their business model. It's also a very risky change in the sense that most of us understand that creating a TV show or creating a movie is very, very, it's very, very risky, right? Because it takes a lot of money, and not all movies are necessarily hits. So how did Netflix have the confidence to be able to transform themselves into somebody who's also creating content, and expensive content, right? They primarily did this on the basis of data, because they had an understanding from all their customers about what kind of movies the customers were really looking at, what kind of actors did they like, what sort of genres did they really enjoy. They were able to actually put together all of this data to make a prediction. Say that, for example, when they first started the first show, House of Cards, they basically went ahead and said, look, we know that a lot of people like David Fincher movies. We know that a lot of people like Kevin Spacey. We know that men between the ages of 25 to 40 and women between, a certain age, like, political dramas, etc. And basically they sort of reverse engineered, in some sense, what people would like, right? What a certain set of people would like. And they built this entire TV series, which is still tremendously successful on the basis of data, right? So data analytics is something that a lot of companies are increasingly realizing is a way for them to survive, a way for them to grow, a way for them to identify new product areas, new service areas. And so it has become very, very integral to strategy across multiple companies, right? And so most of the time when, most people think of analytics, they think of, reporting, or, I've generated some charts, I've generated some visualizations, but it's a lot more than that. And that is why, you will see a lot of, stuff like this in the media, sexiest job of the 21st century, a job with the hottest prospects, best new job in America, etc. Like, everybody is talking about analytics and data science. And it's not just hype. If you look at LinkedIn, for example, every year they publish a report of, from their, job postings. People put jobs on LinkedIn. They look at what are the top skills that people are looking for. And analytics and data science has been number one or number two in 30 different countries in the world consistently. So 2015, 2016, 2017. So this is a very, very, serious and, data-backed trend, right? These are skills that companies are looking for, and they're looking for all over the world, right? And this is, of course, borne out by the kind of salaries that analytics professionals can command. Typically, they do have a significant premium over, let's say, IT roles. And then over time, as you become more and more experienced, the premium, in fact, increases. And part of the reason is, if you think about data, right? Can you think of any company or any industry or any sector that doesn't generate data, or that says, I'm going to make decisions where data is not at all important? Can we think, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about a telecom company, you're talking about a pharmaceutical company, an e-commerce company, a bank, it could be the government, it could be non-profit companies, it could be sports companies. Can we really think of anyone who doesn't use data, or who says data is not important, or I don't generate data, or my data is not useful? No, right? It doesn't matter sort of what role you're in, what company you're in. And this is true also for functional areas, right? So whether you're in HR, or you're in supply chain, you're in marketing, you're in financial services, you could be in logistics, you could be in operations, right? But the fact is that increasingly you are going to deal with more and more data. And so at a very fundamental level, the ability to do more with data is something that is only going to become more and more important, right? It's going to be a skill that everybody is going to need. irrespective of whether you are in hardcore analytics and delivering analytics services, or whether you are in a traditional management sort of role, more and more we are all dealing with more data, and so we need to have the skills to be able to make sense of the data, and companies recognize this, and that's why they pay a big premium for analytics roles. So that's broadly about analytics, right? It is a very strategic skill. It is also a very it's a skill that a lot of companies value for not just not just the reporting or historical data analysis portion, but also as a way to sort of help companies identify new opportunity areas for really helping companies grow. Right now, a little bit about why analytics is a good option if you're looking at a restart of your career. Right, one of the big reasons, and one of the big reasons is also around work-life balance, right? So if you look at data scientists and data analysts, Glassdoor did a survey, and it's among the best jobs for good work-life balance, right? It requires a certain unique set of skills, but the pressure on a day-to-day basis is not really that complicated, because these projects tend to be longer-term projects, and so because these skills are valued, there is a good work-life balance there. The average starting pay in analytics is higher than most other fields, including IT. I talked about the fact that there is a premium that is attached to data science careers that continues. The growth curve is very sharp. There is a fast rise in salaries, and again, like I said, the premium tends to increase the more experience you have. And most importantly, there is a huge gap in supply and demand. Right, the industry worldwide requires a lot more people who are data savvy, and there are various sort of estimates. McKinsey did a study that said 200,000 managers, there is a gap. There are estimates that say 1.5 million people worldwide that need to have data skills that don't have. So companies are desperately looking for people that have data related skills. And so if you're trying to come back into the market, then this definitely is a skill set that will make you a little bit more attractive, because these are skill sets that clearly not enough people have. Right? We have a lot of experience working with people who are essentially in the same position as a lot of you, which is people who have taken breaks in their careers and who wanted to re-enter the job market. And so I've listed a few examples here, but just to show that this is not something that should work in practice. It has actually worked in practice. We have a fair amount of people who've had sometimes very long breaks, 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, and essentially who've been wanting to come back into the job market and have been able to do that on the basis of data science. And again, if you look at it, there are data science roles as well as there are business business supporting data science roles, and both are possible depending on what your background is and what your interest is. Now, we spoke about analytics, but let me also a little bit talk about, is analytics perfect for everybody? If you are thinking seriously about analytics, what are the skill sets that you need? Now, there are broadly two types of skill sets that are very, very important, right? The first set of skills is what I call inherent skills. This is essentially things that you should be comfortable with, right? So, analytics at the end of the day is a technical subject. You will be dealing with a lot of numbers. So inherently, you cannot be afraid of numbers. If you are the kind of person who says, I really get scared when I see lots of numbers, or I panic when I see numbers, then possibly analytics is not the skill, not necessarily the career for you. But if you're reasonably comfortable with numbers, then that's something that you should definitely consider. The second thing is that you should have a structured way of thinking. What I call a logical and analytical mind. Analytics is about problem solving, right? And typically, when you try to solve problems, you have to approach a problem in a very structured format. You need to know what methodology to apply, what are the intermediate steps, but it's all very structured. So you have to be somebody who's comfortable with logical thinking. And the third inherent characteristic is essentially around curiosity, right? Because in data science and analytics, you are many times trying to solve fairly complex problems or problems that have a big impact. So they will not have simple solutions, right? And they may not have very evident, solutions that you can see right away. So you have to be somebody who's very curious, who's interested in the outcome, who's able to ask those questions to be able to get to the answer, and is able to persistently ask those questions till the answer is realized, right? So from a personality perspective, these are important. You have to be reasonably comfortable with numbers. And when I say reasonably comfortable with numbers, it does not mean that you have to be a mathematician or you have to be a statistician. No, but you have to, you can't be scared of them. Finally, you will be dealing with lots and lots of numbers. You have to have a logical framework, and you have to have high sense of curiosity. These are inherent skills, but technical skills are even more important. Analytics, at the end of the day, a lot of analytics is the application of statistics. It is statistics analysis, mathematical analysis. So you will need to learn a fair amount of statistics and its application to business. You will need to have a good understanding of the analytics methodology. So when you tackle an analytics or a data science project, there is a standard methodology that most people will apply, starting with identifying what the requirement is, a problem definition, all the way into pre-processing and model building and insight generation, etc. So you have to have a good understanding of the analytics methodology and experience with actually applying it. You have to have very, very strong skills on predictive modeling and machine learning algorithms, right? At the end of the day, with analytics, what you're trying to do is you're trying to use data to solve or to come up with a business answer, right? And in order to do that, you will build mathematical or statistical models that will give you a prediction about the future, right? A lot of analytics problems are around future predictions, right? What will be my sales next quarter? Which of my customers are going to buy my products? What is going to be my, for example, default rate on, let's say, a loan portfolio? So a lot of analytics questions tend to be future focused. So in order to get answers about the future, you have to apply fairly complicated algorithms or regression models or clustering models, etc. So in order to become a data scientist, you will need to learn a fair amount of modeling algorithms. Some of them are predictive in nature, predictive modeling, statistical based. Some of them are machine learning in nature. And finally, you will need knowledge of specialized tools that have been built for implementing and building analytics models. So you start off with Excel. Excel does a fair amount of data analysis, and actually it does some amount of analytics as well. But a lot of heavy duty analytics and data science work is done in tools like SAS or R or Python, right? These are tools that have been built specifically for implementing statistical algorithms and machine learning algorithms. So just to reiterate, right, there are inherent skills and there are technical skills, right? These technical skills are learnable, right? We teach people from very, very diverse backgrounds with no, previous experience with analytics. We're able to teach them analytics. But you should be convinced that this is a field that is interesting to you and that you are inherently suited for data science, right? And then I have just a few slides just to show you, the fact that, if you look at job trends in analytics, they're just showing tremendous growth. There are very, very specific skill sets that people are looking for. They are not able to find. Like I said, there is a huge gap. Machine learning, data science, predictive analytics, R, SAS, Python. There is just a lot of demand for this. Just a little bit briefly about some of the courses we have, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this, because the course selection will also be something that will depend on your prior background and your interest areas. But analytics itself is a fairly large field, right? So it has multiple roles that people talk about within analytics and data science. So people talk about predictive analytics modelers, data scientists, machine learning specialists, big data analysts, data visualization experts, so there are a lot of different roles within analytics. Broadly speaking, there is data science and there is big data, which I will talk about. And then of course the other roles, I'd be happy to answer questions if there is somebody who's interested specifically in some of those roles. But, data scientists are people who essentially can combine business knowledge and knowledge of statistical analysis and predictive modeling to come up with solutions for business problems. Typically, these are people who come with some business background. So if you come primarily from a functional area or a business area, then a role that you should look at is a data scientist, someone who understands, for example, financial services industry, right? Or the retail banking industry or, an e-commerce industry, and is able to solve problems for that industry using data. And in order to solve those problems, you will need to apply analytics. So that's a data science role. There is also a big data role, which is more IT sort of oriented. So one of the trends that has happened in the last 4-5 years is around this big data sort of field. And what this is that, if you think about the data that we collect now, most of us, when we think of data, we think of rows and columns of numbers, right? But, think about data, right? So for example, let's say I went on vacation and I uploaded a photo on Facebook. Is that data? That is also data, right? Or let's say that we tweeted about something, or I went to a restaurant and I really liked it and I left a review on Zomato, right? All of that is data. But that data is not something that you can easily put into a standard database, because how do you put for example, a text review into a row and column format? So increasingly, companies are generating more and more data, and the data is of multiple types, right? So there's text data, there's image data, there's video data, your MRI could be data. So there have been a completely different set of tools and technologies that have been developed to manage what is called big data. Big data because there is a lot of volume, right? The data sizes are very, very large. Think of somebody like a Google or a Flipkart, how much data they deal with. So, they can't really do sequential processing. They have to do parallel processing. So there is the volume aspect, there is the type aspect. And so there is a whole ecosystem of tools and technologies that have been developed in order to tackle what is called big data. So if you primarily come from an IT background, a lot of IT companies are looking for people with skill sets around big data. And remember, at the end of the day, the reason that you're managing all of this big data is to be able to apply analytics on big data. So there is a separate set of roles within analytics that is big data focused. And I would recommend that for people who come primarily from an IT background, because here programming skills become a lot more important, and understanding of databases, etc., become very important. There are other courses, like machine learning specialist or HR analyst, which is, if you come, for example, from an HR background and you want to be able to grow in your career, then one skill that you should look at is data science applied to HR, right? So depending on the domain, we have multiple courses. So I'm not spending too much time on this. For people that are interested in learning about data science and analytics, there is a lot of material available on the internet. KD Nuggets and Data Science Central are two sites that have a lot of information available. We also have a fair amount of information available on our website, especially for beginners. We have a beginner's guide to analytics, beginner's guide to big data analytics, etc. So this may be information that is useful for you. So I would encourage you to read a little bit more about data science. I think in many ways, data science is a great career for women, especially because typically it is a combination of a science and an art, right? Even though it's called data science, right? You apply fairly complicated algorithms, but at the end of the day, because you're solving problems for business, it does require some amount of creative thinking. It requires, a lot of people talk about data science and model building as a combination of a science and an art. And that is something that I think women really excel at. They're able to combine, really different sort of skill sets that are required to come up with the final output. And as someone who's been in data science for the last 15, 18 years, I have a lot of colleagues, women colleagues who've been in analytics.
Sarita, we seem to have lost Sarita. We'll wait for her to rejoin. Meanwhile, can the others please start sharing your questions, because I'm assuming this was almost approaching the end of the presentation. So please ask away your questions in the chat window. Hi, Sarita. I think we lost you for a second there.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying that I'm happy to answer any questions, either specific to the presentation or data science. Happy to do that. Or if anyone has questions about career, their background, what would be good for them, what would they need to do, I'm happy to answer that as well.
Perfect. So I've just requested all the participants to start sharing their questions in chat. We have the first question from Maria, who says, is there a work from home career possible in analytics?
There definitely is a work from home option possible, because a lot of the work is technical, so you don't necessarily need to be in the office all the time. Having said that, it's easier to think about work from home once you've gained some experience. So a lot of companies will want you to come in, let's say once a week or twice a week, because they will want to make sure that you understand the domain, you understand the company, etc., etc. But definitely, it is possible. Startups and smaller companies are more open to work from home options in general. But there are quite a few large companies that do extensive analytics that are very open to work from home. So, for example, IBM or Microsoft, etc. I mean, the advantage of data science is that it is applied and applicable across any kind of industry or sector. So, very much possible.
Okay. Arpita has the next question who says, Hi Sarita, I've taken a big data Hadoop developer course and I'm currently taking a Spark Scala course, but do not know how and where to go next as all companies require experience. Would want to know if there's any internship in this.
Yeah, so see, there are internships available, but not directly. So since you're doing big data, Hadoop, and Spark and Scala, both all of them are quite in demand. But of course, companies do want to know if you've had any live experience. So see, for example, at Jigsaw, we do provide internship opportunities for our students, and sometimes we run contests with companies where Jigsaw students then can participate in the contest, and the companies give them recommendation letters. But obviously that's not open to everyone. It's only open to our students. There are a few third-party, competition sites. They're a little bit more oriented towards data science than big data. But you may want to look at something called Kaggle, which is a third-party competition site. Essentially, you can just enroll and do run competitions for free. And if you do well, then you can talk about your leaderboard ranking in your resume. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is sort of, whatever, I'm not sure where you're taking the course, but there must be some projects, in the course that you're in. Try and make sure that the output and the code that you write is on a GitHub account, etc., that you can then showcase on your resume. Because a lot of people, if you tell them that this is my GitHub account, this is the code I've written, this is the output that I've sort of been able to generate, etc., that may be one way of showing, what your capability in that subject is.
Okay.
Kalyani says, is a career in analytics possible after being in academics for more than 10 years in finance specialization? Absolutely possible. You will have to plan for this diligently, right? So I will reiterate this, right? Most of us in India tend to want shortcut solutions, right? So we say, hey, I want a job, and therefore I'm going to do one course, and then I'm going to get a job. It doesn't necessarily work like that. Because you've taken a break, you will have to build competencies over and above what, let's say, the general population has, and you will have to make sure that there is a consistent story, right? So for example, if you have finance experience and 10 years of finance experience, then what you want to try and do is you want to build on that. You want to target financial services companies where your past experience would be relevant, right? So you should plan that move carefully. You should have an aim. You should have a thought out aim, and then you should make sure that you have as much positive sort of skill sets that you can bring to the table. That will convince people to hire you. So, for example, um, like I said, if you have finance knowledge, then try and target companies that are in the fintech sector, in the financial services sector, and you have to build a resume that basically showcases all your experience and is very clearly articulating why analytics is a help, given your experience. Yeah. Okay, let me just make sure that I'm answering questions.
Yeah. The next question is from Archana. Do you want me to read that out to you?
I can read it.
Yeah. Okay.
Archana says, I have 8.5 years experience from Infosys in banking. I'm about to complete MTech course in a month. How can I approach or start? So your MTech is, does it have a specialization area? I'm not very sure if it does. But see, again, I would give you the same advice. If your experience has been in Infosys in banking, right, you should try and look at companies and teams within the banking domain. Banking is a huge adopter of data science and analytics, right? Financial services companies were among the first companies that applied analytics rigorously on their data. So what you want to try and do is identify companies that have banking clients and sort of add analytics as a value add to your past experience, and say, not only do I have IT experience, banking domain experience, I also have knowledge of analytics. So that's sort of how I would encourage you to look at it, right? Vishwanidhi says, I've attended big data and Hadoop workshop. Where and how do I start if I want to begin my career as a big data analyst? So I'm not sure how extensive the workshop was. The big data and Hadoop, this is a fairly large set of skills. So I would, I would Unless the workshop was intensive, I don't think it would have been enough. You probably will have to spend some time building up fairly extensive skill sets. But yeah, I would ask you to look at a course where there is more than just Hadoop covered, because Hadoop is only one part of big data, right? At the end of the day, if you want to think about analytics and data science on Hadoop, then you also have to think about how do you connect analytics tools like R to Hadoop. You have to think about how do you connect Tableau to Hadoop. Maybe machine learning using Spark and Scala, like someone else, I think, Anita was talking about. You will have to look at all of that. Unless the workshop was very extensive, it probably is not enough. You should look at a course that looks at big data analytics.
Right. We have a question from Maria. I have retail banking experience of 5 years in ICICI and HDFC. What course do you recommend for me?
I would recommend a data science course with financial analytics specialization. Again, since you have retail banking experience, again, another question that I get a lot is a lot of people tell me I'm happy to start as a fresher, right? But in India, that is not how hiring works, right? People don't like to, if you have 5 years of experience, you will not be considered as a fresher by any company. You may be willing to start from scratch, but they are not willing to have you start from scratch. So what you really want to do is figure out how do I leverage my past experience to make this work, right? So if you have retail banking experience, you should try and target companies like ICICI, HDFC, or some of the newer banks that are looking for banking professionals with analytics knowledge, right? All the new banks, including ICICI and HDFC, all have strong analytics practices. So you want to be able to build a resume that says, hey, I'm a banking professional with all of these skill sets, including analytics. Right. So that's what I would recommend. Look at data science and financial analytics specialization. I think I might have a slide on that here. Let me just see if I can go back up. But something like this is possibly what you want to look at.
Okay. So while we're waiting for the next question, Sarita, can I ask, do you provide internships for most of your courses or all of your courses? How does that work?
So typically what we do is we have placement assistants for our courses. Most of the students that come to us are working professionals who are looking for, either a career switch or a career upskilling sort of opportunity. So what we do is we run a lot of contests with companies. The companies will provide a data set and a problem statement, and then students get an opportunity to work on those data sets. So that's not, you don't necessarily need to go there or do anything. It's all online. And then the people that do well get recommendation letters that are equivalent to some amount of work experience. The other thing that we do is we also have a lot of companies, especially startups, reach out to us for internship opportunities. So we post those opportunities on our learning platform, and the interested students can take the internship. So we do provide it for most of our courses.
Perfect. Now, in terms of how your course is usually structured, is most of that done online or is it offline? How does that work?
Yeah, so all our courses are online. Most, 97% of our student base is working professionals, typically 2 to 5 years of work experience. And so they prefer online because otherwise it becomes very hard to manage an in-person session. We've also, we do realize that this is a very technically complicated set of skills. So students do need a lot of support, especially because they don't come from necessarily data science or data related background. What we provide is we provide online learning with a lot of support. So our students get access to our faculty. They can call, they can email, they can set up one-on-one sessions over the phone or over Skype. So we provide a lot of support, but the course material and the learning, etc., is all online.
Right. So,
Are the internships also?
Yeah.
Yes, internships are only for people that take courses from us.
Okay, perfect. Also, when somebody takes up your course, is there a pass fail or a reassess, or what? How does that work?
So yes, we provide certifications, for our courses. Typically, what it means is that when you get access to a course, these are all very hands-on courses because at the end of the day, you have to work with business data sets. You have to build a model. So it's not a theory course; it's a very practical course. 50% of your time is going to go in practicing. You will have to learn programming tools. You will have to learn, the algorithm application, etc. So you will have to spend time, and you'll have to do it quite hands-on. Typically, in every course, we will have a couple of graded assignments, which are typically case study focused. And once you clear the graded assignments, there is a certification test, and the certification test, there's usually a cutoff percentage for pass. And then once you clear it, then you get certified.
Okay. And how's your placement been so far? Do you have that kind of numbers?
Yeah, I mean, so again, we've had quite a lot of success with placements. A lot of our audience is not directly necessarily interested in a job, because a lot of them are already working and they are looking at their next role, right? They're looking at analytics as a way of supplementing their, when they go into their appraisal process, to be able to say that, look, I have the skills and I want to be able to upgrade. So there's a whole set of people that come to us that are not necessarily looking at jobs directly from us. But definitely there are a lot of people who are looking, let's say they come from an IT testing background and they feel like, okay, to some extent that's a dead end and I want to be able to switch. So typically we are able to place a lot of people, 40-50% of the people that are interested in placements typically get a job within, 3 to 6 months. But of course, the number really depends on a lot of things. Location constraints. Sometimes people have location constraints and they say, I only want to be in Bangalore or I only want to be in Bombay. So they may take longer. Also, it depends on your experience, right? If you have 2 to 3 years of experience, it may be easier to place you. If you have 15 years of experience, then obviously a lot of the placement efforts have to come from that person, right? It is very network dependent in that sense. But yeah, we've had significant success with placements, and that's why I put that slide earlier on about women, especially with long breaks who came back, and some of them that we were able to place. And we have also a fair amount of success stories on our website. So if anyone is interested, they can go and look at those videos as well.
Perfect. Now Maria has a question here. How many hours per day do we need to dedicate in a course?
So it depends on the course in general, but let's say you're looking at our standard data science or a big data course. Usually, the advantage of online learning is that you can set your own pace, right? So typically these courses we give access for 6 months or 9 months, depending on how much, what course you choose. But most people tend to finish it in 4 to 5 months. But these are people with full-time jobs, right? If you are able to spend, let's say, between 12 to 15 hours a week, you should easily be able to finish in 2.5 months.
Perfect. Mathangi asks, can I access the recording of this meeting and presentation from somewhere? Yes, Mathangi, we'll be posting this on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So give us about an hour and a half. We would be able to post this recording on our social media pages. And of course, you can find this recording on Jigsaw pages as well. So that's that. In terms of, so obviously you understand, Sarita, that we're talking, sorry. Yeah.
No,
so
sorry.
So we're talking about women who took career breaks. Now they've been trying to get jobs. Unfortunately, they've not been very successful. Do you think doing a course like this can improve their chances to get a job? And if yes, how much?
See, will doing a course improve their chances? Yes, right. Essentially, if you've taken a break and you're trying to come back into the job market, at the end of the day, why should someone hire you, right? They will hire you because you have past experience. They will hire you because you have a certain set of skills that they think you have. But also, there has to be something that convinces companies that they should hire you, even though you've had such a long break, right? So again, I'll be very candid, and I said this earlier. A lot of people expect shortcuts. That's not how it works, right? If you have taken a break, then you have to be, in some sense, 200% more qualified than other people, right? So what is it that you offer that will make people look at you over and above other people, right? People who haven't had a break, for example. So definitely you need to upskill. You need to be able to have some skills that make you interesting. Data science and analytics skills are definitely one of those. But you have to take it seriously. It can't just be a course certificate. You have to be able to spend the time on your resume, make sure that you are building a good story, that you have a good way to explain how this certification adds value to what you already have. That, of course, people can help you with. We also help our students do that. But you have to put in that time, the energy, the motivation. And remember, it's not a shortcut. You have to think through this and say, this is why I'm doing this. This is how it's going to help me. This is the story that I'm going to be able to sell to a company about why they should hire. But definitely it will help.
Fair enough.
And without additional skill sets, I think it is just that much harder to convince anyone to hire you without when you have a long break.
Of course. So if you were to just simply give me 5 or 6, backgrounds that would be ideal to take up these courses, let's say you talked about HR, you talked about finance. Can you tell me what kind of backgrounds would be ideal to take up these courses?
I think IT definitely, a lot of big data, that would be good, and any business background. So retail banking, financial services, HR, for example, a lot of demand for HR analytics professionals, and typically something that people look for. All of those would be very good. Operations,
Perfect.
that would
Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarita. We're running out of time. We really, really appreciate you making time for this. And